Really excited to be joined today by DiJonai Carrington from over at the Connecticut Sun. DiJonai, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, ready for the game.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It's kind of wild that we're somehow at the last one already,
Yeah,
but we're here. Just kind of closing out. How are you feeling with the year being just about over?
I feel good. I'm excited for the postseason. I think it's gonna be even crazier than ever before, and so that's always exciting as a player and as a fan. So ready to get to it.
No, absolutely. I think just the way that this year's gone in general, like especially with the break hitting the way that it did, like since
Mhm.
mid July, it just has been an absolute blur. And I have no idea how we're here already, but
I know.
locking in on your season too. I know you're somebody who's up for most improved and honestly has a really great shot at winning it. I wanted to ask just in general about your consistency because to me, like I think you've always had a lot of really great qualities as a player. Obviously, took huge steps last year, but to me, I think what's made you the best defensive guard in the league this year has been that consistency and continuing to. I think you're always in every possession. It feels like. What has been maybe most key for you in continuing to develop that out?
I mean, thank you, but also as a
Yeah.
player, you never want to let your teammates down. And I feel like, not I feel like, I know that they count on me every possession to, you know, guard the best player and to either force them into a tough shot or um, make somebody else have to take that shot. And so I don't know, like I know what I'm capable of, but at the end of the day, it's not just about me. It's not about like, sometimes you get tired, but I don't want to let my teammates down. And that's every single possession. And I think it's just the mentality of knowing that you have to be locked in. I know that I don't get to take possessions off on defense. And so just having that mindset and making sure to like consistently remind myself of that throughout the game. Like I'm literally talking to myself like, all right, lock in, like you know what's coming, or just talking to myself about people's tendencies. I think that has helped me a lot, just staying engaged mentally, every single possession.
No, absolutely. And I wanted to ask too, like obviously you guys have been a great defensive team the entire time you've been in Connecticut, but it feels
Yeah.
like this year's just different, right? Like I think in terms of like the speed that you guys play with, like obviously I think you look at the first couple years, it's a lot of like length, a lot of size. This year it's been, sometimes we're playing four guards and it's a
Yeah.
lot about like how you guys can switch and be on into and off ball. How does that kind of change things up for you in terms of being, an elite defensive player?
It definitely does. Just change my positioning on the floor depending on what coverages we're in. I mean, you saw last game against Minnesota in the fourth quarter, we went really small and we had AT at the five. And so it allowed us to switch everything and be super, super aggressive on the court and just know that, whatever, if you're making a mistake being aggressive, somebody's going to be able to be there to flow behind you. So it is cool. It's fun to be super agile on the perimeter. I know that's our identity. Sometimes our offense has been stagnant throughout the season, but something that we've always been able to count on is our defense and is holding teams underneath their average on offense. And so I think that for us, it's something that we don't have the luxury of taking days on and off of with defense. So it's been good. Sometimes DB at the four changes things with depending on who's on the court, it all changes things. But I know for me personally, I'm always just trying to be aggressive, get on passing lanes, just push catches out, make it tough for the opposing offensive players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think part of what's interesting that you hit on too, like I feel like so much of what you guys do, and I mean, Steph talks about it all the time, is what you guys do is about playing hard and playing consistently. Like if
Hmm.
especially offense and defense, if you are on it the
Yeah,
entire time, it works incredibly well. If you're not, you notice that too. And I think that's part
yeah,
of what's exciting about it being the postseason now because that just changes things.
for
Um,
sure.
let me pull up these clips because I pulled out some stuff to run through, just kind of like running through the things that really stand out to me about your game. Obviously, I think we can always start with you're so great locking things down on the ball, but I think there's so much more that goes into that too, right? Like, obviously, you can stop me at any point when we're going through it's a conversation, kind of running through it. But just to start off, obviously from this game,
Hmm.
one of the things that always stands out, I feel like teams, it's been something that's been there the entire year. But I feel like, I mean, and throughout your career, but I feel like teams are just trying to run you through as many screens as possible, right?
Yeah.
What has that been like for you as a player? Because, like, obviously, you're used to having to run through screens, but it's
Mhm.
been at a different level this year.
Yeah, I mean, every morning I wake up something else my ribs, my back, my neck, something, it feels like it just got hit by a truck. But, I think during the game, I'm on such a high adrenaline, just like, you know, I'm I love playing basketball and I have fun out there, so I don't really feel that stuff unless it's my knee. I don't really feel
Yeah,
it after the game. But yeah, no, this possession, and I remember this one.
yeah. Yeah, no, so it's fun because
Um,
it's tough, like, I mean, they do so much of, like, okay, they can open up baseline with cuts, so you have to you kinda wanna deny stuff, but also gotta get through
yeah,
the screen, like and I think one of the things that stands out I know obviously you played football growing up, and it stands out so much in watching you get through screens and stuff, right? Because 'Cause I'm like,
yeah,
that's football stance, that's football shedding, like, I can see that totally,
for
um,
sure.
but yeah, just making stuff really tough is
This
always
and
stands out.
also, like I had said before, like, watching a lot of film also has really helped me because if you go to the very, very beginning of this clip, like, I mean, by this point of the season, I know what they're calling. I think I had yelled it to everybody, like, "They're running this," and so that also gives me an advantage just kinda knowing what they're trying to get to. Obviously, they have counters and stuff, but,
Mhm.
like, preparing yourself for what's to come, it makes it a lot easier to get through those screens.
No, absolutely. And like again, like, cause I think it's easy to miss this one from Stewie. Like, dude, they're screening you like at the logo. Like it's the kind of stuff where like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're getting hit constantly. So it's a lot of trying to keep up with that.
giddy up.
Exactly. Going to the next one though, I think you hit on it a little bit, but I think your pickup points this year have been awesome too. Like you just cannot be an opposing guard without seeing you pretty much right after they cross half court. Um, and I think that again, it makes it so tough to get into things. I think you see so often teams try and get into things in early offense, and you drag them deeper into a possession. And like here again, like so much of this is okay. We just want an early screen for Jewel,
Yeah.
see what we can create, and then it ends up being okay. 15 seconds into the shot clock, this is a really difficult fadeaway.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shot she's capable of making, but and that's every player that I'm guarding, they're capable
Yeah,
of making those really tough shots, but that's my job is to force them into those tough shots. And nobody else touched the ball in this possession as well. You know what I mean? So that
exactly.
it allows a Dewana, a Breezy to catch their breath for a second. You know what I mean? Just different things like
Yeah.
that help us in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think like so much of being good defensively isn't even about like necessarily getting it. Like turnovers are great, right? It's something
Yeah,
you
like
guys
it's not
thrive
a
on.
steal.
But it's like all you can do is make things hard. If you can drag it
Mhm.
into like, all right, if the shot clock's waning, that's pretty good. Like hard to
Exactly.
complain about. Um, Looking at this one too, one of the things that I've loved about your game in general is like the way you kind of use like your jab hand. I feel like not a lot. There obviously there are some defenders that do that, but I think you've done that like really excelled with that in general. What kind of got that out of you? What makes you use that? Because I know you kind of like to mix and match with it a little bit. It feels like.
Yeah. I think, it depends on who I'm playing and what their tendencies are. And like with this play with Skylar, I know her first thought, isn't to just come off and shoot it. So not that she's not capable of making those shots, but I know that she wants to get downhill to that left. So just, baiting her into it a little bit, knowing that that ball screen is coming and that AT's in that ball screen and that's who I would love to be in ball screens with is
Yeah,
AT, so kinda just baiting her into that, um, and always keeping a high hand because, like I said, the people that I'm guarding, they can pull up and shoot it at any second, and that'll be a good shot for them. So, always having to keep a high hand just in case they decide to pull up, it's already a little bit contested. Everyone always talks about me because my hands are always like this, or like they're somewhere you can see them, and I'm like, yeah, they're active. They're like, no,
it's
you
what you're
look
supposed to do,
prissy.
right? Like, yeah.
They call me prissy because my hands be like this.
That's funny as hell. But honestly, it's exactly what you're saying. Like so much of it is like, okay, cool. Well, if you have your hand in somebody's face, it
Mhm.
just even if it's not necessarily doing anything, it makes somebody think, and then it
Just a
puts you
little
in their
bit.
space. Like
Mhm.
it's just something to make it difficult. Like even here, like again, because all right, it's Neko Gumake. Neka's one of the best mid post scorers in the league. So you're there, and then just being able to get out, like, it seems small, but it's just, like, one step and you're right in somebody's face with your hand, it's like, "Okay, cool, well, this isn't an open shot anymore." So,
Right.
yeah, exactly, I like that a lot. Um, Getting into this too, again, just, like, talking about the consistent efforts, I think always stands out because, like, again, you get run through so many screens, but again, like, especially with how much teams try and work empty side, like running like more like stuff with a
Yeah.
5,
Mhm.
so much of it is about coming in with a rear contest and making things difficult, again, like that,
Yeah.
because that's just I mean, Breezy's so good at staying lateral, keeping her hands high too,
Yeah.
um,
And
especially
that's super helpful when the posts are able to be up high to where like the ball handler can't come off and turn the corner or like get downhill at all. It buys me a lot more time to be able to laterally catch up with them as opposed to having to, beat them to a spot that's underneath both of us. So it definitely helps when the post is up high like Bree is here.
No, absolutely. Especially too when it comes to like getting over and around screens. When you get hit with like angles that are just kind of in general, like can be tougher to get
Mhm.
over or around. How does that kind of change things up for you too, in terms of like? Because I know you're somebody who's great at getting over screens, but like
Mhm.
sometimes I think people don't realize like angles can just make it really difficult to actually do it as an over. So how does that kind of change things for you?
Yeah, I mean, most times I'm trying to get over the screen, but like you said, with different angles, sometimes last second, I'm forced to just shoot the gap on it, and hopefully get a good contest on the other side. But that's the tricky part. Where I mean, a lot of times, I won't say a lot of times, but if I'm hit, I'll call for a peel switch. Like I
Mhm.
know I'm not 6'5", but I'm not afraid to, peel switch and have to battle for a catch until somebody can get me off. So I think if those angles get to the point where I'm out of the play, it doesn't make any sense for me to just keep coming most of the time and leave 4 on 5 on the backside or what 4 on 3 on the backside.
Yeah.
So I'm good for calling a peel switch.
Yeah, well, kind of mentioning that too. I think that's one of the things you guys really excel at is peeling and then scramming out of it after too.
Mhm.
You know, like how much of like kind of working through that has that been? Because especially playing as a little bit smaller the last 2 years, like I feel like that's such an important part of being able to kind of maintain a shell a little bit. So what's been key to you in kind of finding that?
Well, like I said, like I effort is one thing, but just like dumb effort is another thing. Like if I'm clipped, the effort cool to keep coming is awesome, but like it doesn't make sense to leave 4 on 3 on the backside when I can just peel out and at least, sit on top of their legs of the post player and try to push them under until somebody can get me out. And so I think with with our size, having DB in there at the 3 even does help because she's typically that low person on the backside who can peel us out and get the littles off of the post players. Or you see Gabby's diving, which is helpful for us because AT could be in there and peel me off if, Mercedes was to try to roll down here. So it's just like nobody's really in any set positions. Sometimes when you have like traditional 4 and 5s, they
Mhm.
want to stay low all the time. But for us, being able to have people that are versatile and, DB can pill high if Skylar goes high, or Ty can pill high if she goes high. Like we're so versatile. And I think that that has really helped us just not being robots because nobody
Yeah.
really has a set position or a set spot that they want to be in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. And I think also too, like DB just gets so underrated as a defender. Like she does
Yeah,
so
she's
much
so
that's so
long.
key. Yeah, she saves a lot. This one too, just kind of like in looking at again how much stuff you get thrown at off ball, like a ton of things where like again, like we talked about with guard stuff earlier. I think so much of like the off ball switching and maintaining stuff, knowing okay, this is probably going to end up something for Jewel, right? And then it
Yeah.
ends up being okay, cool. I'm top blocking her, and then have to get through a screen. She goes through it like and then beating her to her spot, like, you're so good at doing that too. Like, just even when she wants the ball, like, you make it hard, and then it ends up just being, "Okay, cool, pass out and a turnover,"
Yeah.
because of making things difficult, and I think, again, like, you don't get the turnover here, but to me, like and obviously, BB does a great job making the play
Yeah.
here, but, like, this is a team possession where, "Okay, cool, we just make things really difficult, and then it's a turnover because our defense is still so set." Just a couple more to
A
close
lot of
out.
times that's really what it is. I mean, you see there's 5 seconds on the shot clock, so regardless, they probably wanna get up a great shot even if they did get that reversal, V would have
Mhm.
been there, and then they would have had to make one more pass, which would have been a shot clock violation. So, like you said, a lot of times it's not really, like, stat stuff defensively. It's just pushing the catch out or making them get to the next action. The first action that they wanted was Jewel coming off the screen with Sammy. They weren't able to get that. So now they had to hand it off to Sammy and do the pin down. Like the clock is running this whole time, you know. Now the deflection, the clock's still running. So it's just about getting them deeper into the shot clock, having to make one more pass, giving us one more second to recover, different things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really great insight in terms of like it's just there are so many actions going on. It's about make them run through as many as possible because
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not going to stop. And then again, like just your ability to beat people to their spots, I think always stands out. Like the hands obviously very strong. And see, this is why you have the high hands because if your hands are too
There
low
it
at this point,
is.
you're not getting the steal.
Exactly.
Um and then yeah, so we talked about the screening angles earlier too. This is one where like the way that it gets flipped, really
Mhm.
hard to get over, right? But then beating the
Yeah.
spot. I think one thing that stood out with you a ton this year too, like just your strength. I feel like people know you're quick, but you're
Mhm.
really like functionally strong at the point. So like when you get your hands on something, I feel like it's kind of game over a little bit.
Coming. Yeah, I think I lift a lot in the off season, not much during the season, but
Yeah.
I'm able to maintain it pretty well. But yeah, with this one, I knew if I had actually went under, she would have just stopped behind. You could see Dearica kind of trying to like seal me behind her for a
Yeah.
second. So that's why you see this high hand on the left side because I just knew she was gonna try to shoot it. Just that high hand literally made her kind of hesitate on the shot and allowed me to just slide through. And also having Breezy there at the nail, like our positioning for this is really, really good on the
Hmm.
backside from Breezy all the way down to Ty and DB. There's nowhere for her to go over here, and AT's able to get out and get back to Dearica because she doesn't have to help because Breezy's right there. Like it's
Yeah.
all there. She had no option but to try to get downhill, and I could see that because everyone else is covered.
Yeah. No, and exactly. Just to point out with the hand too, like right here, exactly
Mhm.
what you're saying. I think it's hard for people to necessarily see some of that stuff in game, but like your hand
Mhm.
is in her shooting pocket. Like there is no
Right.
shot there. So it's so big in taking that away. Um Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, because now getting into this in terms of looking at some of the stuff with I totally messed that up. One sec. In terms of looking at like some of the stuff you can do in forcing turnovers, you
Mhm.
lead the league in percentage of points scored off of turnovers. So almost would
Really?
you guess how if you had to guess, what percentage of points do you score off turnovers?
What percentage of my total points are
Yeah.
off of turnovers?
Yeah.
High. Probably like I say like 50.
It's 28.6%. So
Really?
close.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like most of my points are in transition.
yeah, you score well, synergy's not perfect, but it's got you at, like, just about 30, which is, yeah, the highest percentage in the league, so it's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, but again, like, I think so much is, like, just being able to force those turnovers, get out, like, it's
Mhm.
been game changing in terms of, like, adding like you talked about with sometimes the offense can be stagnant, being able
Yes.
to add anything in transition is big, and then that kinda creates the ability to kinda turn some things over and keep shifting the game.
Yeah, and I know that our team needs that from me. You know, we don't play super fast in general, and so when we can, when me and AT, are in transition, we like to get out and go because, like I said, our half court offense isn't the quickest, and we need to get more possessions. And so that's why attacking in transition sometimes it's make or miss, but getting those extra possessions and getting downhill and making them have to run and get back is helpful for our team.
No, absolutely. Well, Nay, I really appreciate your time. Just
Of
to
course.
close out in general, like in terms of looking ahead to this postseason, what are you most excited about? Kind of getting to showcase and keep doing.
Mhm. I'm just excited, every postseason is different, and I've been blessed to be in the postseason all 4 years of my career, but I think it's a different feeling when you know kind of what's gonna be expected of you, you know the hype around it all, you know what you guys are really, really, in search for, and that's a championship, and, we've been super close, and so I'm excited to hopefully get over that hump, but just be consistent, stay within myself, um, have fun. Like I think we play best when we're having fun. So hopefully we can continue to have fun
No,
and that'll take
absolutely.
us to the top.
Definitely. Well, I'm excited to watch you keep doing. I'm excited to see what you guys can do. To everyone watching, of course, keep up with all things Sun and enjoy the rest
Yeah.
of your day.